Hari Om, pranams to you all. Hari Om. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. 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 Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Sri Jai Jai Sri Jai Hari Om, pranams to you all. Srimad Bhagavad Gita. This is a commentary written by Nunchur Venkatramanji. So let us try to read from the introduction. There is a prayer. Let the effulgence that illumines this universe and all visible lights with its power of luminosity shine forth in our hearts. Why not abide in peace? What great attainments awaits you that you again need move out of your inherent peace to activity or thinking? Why not abide in peace? What great attainments awaits you that again need to move out of your inherent peace to activity or thinking? This is a remark of Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharishi to a person who was unaware of the great treasure waiting within him. Bhagavan Krishna asked the same question thousands of years ago in the Gita. Ashantasya Purnaha Sukham. Without peace, whatever you may achieve, where is happiness? Where is real fulfillment? The Kathopanishad says, we are faced with two choices of life. One is prayas and the other is shreyas. Praise is the road of power and shreyas is the path of peace. Worldly people are attracted naturally to the way of power, as power is a highly addictive drug. Only wise, discriminating and intelligent seekers choose the path of peace, shreyas. In the very beginning of the Gita, Arjuna tells Krishna, show me the path of shreyas. This is the beginning of the spiritual quest. The quest about that, or the inquisitiveness about the transcendental, which can give us absolute peace and fulfillment, which can end suffering in life, is like the celestial dawn that appears on the eastern horizon before the splendorous sunrise. So the Upanishad says, Shantoyam Atma. The very nature of the Atman is peace. Seekers often ask, what is this Atman? Is it light? Is it something splendorous like the sun? It is not something you can envision. It is the experience in your deepest being. It is Shanti, peace, profound peace. Peace is the nature of the self. When the mind becomes still in the meditation, Shanti is revealed. When the mind becomes still in meditation, Shanti is revealed. So Papa also says, utterance of God's name is to make the mind ultimately still, free from thoughts. In that stillness, you know and realize God. So when the mind becomes distracted, the peace of the inner self is not felt clearly. When the mind is distracted, the peace of the inner self is not felt clearly. When something helps the mind to touch the pool of peace within, we mistake that something to be the cause of peace. But the truth is that peace does not arise from any external cause. Peace is the Atman himself. It is his very nature. The self is of the nature of pure consciousness. The peace of the self can never be taken away from us. So in our day-to-day life, peace is experienced occasionally in between two disturbances. One disturbance comes and ends before the next disturbance starts. In between, we experience that peace. Although the very nature of the self is peace, awareness, and eternity, Jnana, Chit, Anantata. We are not aware of it because it is covered by the veil of ignorance, Ajnana. Ajnana avartam jnanam, says the Gita. This is the cause for our whole delusion. This delusion is the sole cause for all our suffering, Vishada, with which the Gita begins. The Vishada that the great hero Arjuna encountered in his life, which shook him to his deeper core and made him cry out for divine help. Vishada is another name for the veil that covers the self. An entire life without the knowledge of the self is a long duration of Vishada. An entire life without the knowledge of the self is a long duration of Vishada. As Bhagavan himself says, Dukkhalayam Ashashvatam. This world is made of sorrow. It is a temple where only sorrow is worshipped. Whatever we may attain in this world is all evanescent. Health, beauty, wealth, knowledge, they all come and go. The truth, the divine is alone eternal. It never changes. Hence it is called Satyam, the truth. Hence it is called Satyam, the truth. The definition of truth is that which never undergoes any change. The truth will never undergo any change. Everything else undergoes change. But Satyam, which in the language of the Gita is Sat, existence, never changes. Na abhavo vidyate sataha. The truth has no change, no disappearance. It is ever available. Hence, when the truth is discovered, one has found that which is eternally stable. The Gita is not about some spiritual experience that lasts an hour or so. The road of the Gita is the quest of that spiritual experience which, when it dawns once, remains steady, that is Sthita Prajna, it remains. The steadiness of that inner happiness is called Sama, that is equanimity. The steadiness of that Inner happiness is called sama, equanimity. But that is often invaded by thoughts, forces of destiny. As clouds cover the sky, such experiences overcast the inner peace. Attachment and aversion often spoil this great treasure within. Attachment and aversion often spoil this great treasure within. When we get involved in the world, we come to face we come face to face with the insurmountable problems of dealing with attachments and aversions. We find we find it impossible to live without likes and dislikes, without doership and enjoyership. Worldly activities cannot be undertaken without these four. By world, what is implied is ragadvesha, kartutva, bhoktutva, likes and dislikes, doership and enjoyership. To deal with another, I must have either a like or a dislike. And in order to act in the world, I must possess doership and enjoyership. When the mind is projected, it comes forth with these four aspects. All these make the road to Vishada, suffering. When the mind subsides, it subsides along with all these four. And the inherent contentment of our real nature, Swarupa Sukha, shines forth. The peace of the self reveals itself. The substance of the mind can happen only through jnana. Jnana labhate param shantam. So one who has this knowledge very soon attains supreme peace. Another path that Bhagavan has revealed in the Gita is surrender. When you surrender, you touch the same source. So Papa has taken the path of surrender, we all know. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord says, Bhagavan says, 62, chapter number 18, sloka number, verse number 62. Tameva sharanam gaccha sarvabhavena bharata tat prasadat param shantim sthanam prapsasi shashvatam. So in this verse, Bhagavan indicates that by total surrender, you attain peace and also locate a stable anchorage within. Once the inner current of cognition is anchored in that unchanging, firm state of peace, it is a sure sign that the mind has found that illumining principle. So Shankaracharya beautifully describes such ones. Tushni Silava Stita. They attain that great silence in them. In them, we can see the spiritual experience unshakable like a rock. This is indeed the goal of the Gita, to somehow take the mind inward. Somehow take the mind inward. When the mind goes out through the five gates of the senses to grab worldly things, it brings to heaps of dirt and lots of disturbing viruses of ignorance. To take the mind inward, firstly, the path of spiritual practice, sadhana, must be chosen. In the language of the Gita, it is Adhyatma Nityatvan, steadiness in spiritual practice, and Acharyopasana, staying with a great master who can guide us in our inner spiritual journey. It is indeed a great fortune to have an illumined master who gives us this pure, crystal clear teaching of the Upanishads, who constantly reminds us the treasure we seek is not outside. Go within and ask, who am I? Find out your real nature. Whenever the mind slips back to its old roads of disturbance, suffering and sensory pleasures, remind yourself that sorrow is waiting, death is waiting to grab you. All objects of the world hide sorrow and suffering in their womb. Dukkha, yonaya, says the Gita. If we do not feel the blow of suffering at the first touch, it is only a question of time. Soon they will pour forth the tortuous ocean of suffering into the mind. There is no object outside which will not give us suffering. So all objects will give us suffering, suffering and suffering. Says the Upanishads, everything other than the self is bound to make us suffer. The true purpose of even noble ideals like Guru, God and scriptures is to push the extroverted mind inward and to casual it to stay in the heart. Whenever the fickle and unsteady mind goes outward, withdraw the mind repeatedly from the object, from the event, from the involvement and make it stay in the self. So Bhagavan said in the 6th chapter, Atma Samyama Yoga, verse number 26. Yato yato nishcharati manaschanchalamastiram tatastato niyamita manyeva vasamye. So Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi has said again and again that the powerful path of self-inquiry is the only way to withdraw the mind. We must convince the mind that everything encountered in the world will ultimately deliver suffering. Thus, the mind should fear getting attached to the objects of the senses. So again and again we have to remind to our mind whatever we seek in the world, worldly objects all contain suffering. Without suffering there is no object. Every object contains suffering. It will deliver ultimately suffering. That should be clearly told to our mind. Thus the mind should fear getting attached to the objects of the senses. Whenever the mind goes outwards, whenever thoughts or passion arise in the mind, inquire, to whom do they happen? When the mind is invaded by passion, it is a sure sign that the house is on fire and will burn down soon. House is on fire. So whenever the mind goes outwards, whenever thoughts or passion arise in the mind, inquire, to whom do they happen? When the mind is invaded by passion, it is a sure sign that the house is on fire and will burn down soon. As Bhagavan says in the Gita, these three, Kama, Krodha, Lobha, that is desire. Desire we also call passion. Desire means passion. Anger and greed are sure roads to hell. And the source of all three is indeed ignorance about one's real nature. Unsteady self-experience is a sign of ignorance. What is our real nature? peace and happiness. That is our true nature, but we are not aware because of ignorance. When the mind becomes obstinately attached to something, remind yourself that a tragedy is waiting. Tragedy is waiting. When the mind becomes obstinately attached to something, remind yourself that tragedy is waiting. Inquire to whom is this passion? Who is the experiencer behind this? Within this body, there is someone who is experiencing every sensory experience, every thought, every emotion. Who is this? To whom is this passion? Who is the experiencer behind this? Within this body. So within this body there is someone who is experiencing every sensory experience, every thought, every emotion. Who is this? When you deeply inquire and observe within, the only answer that your heart can provide is me, me, I. Hold on to that me. It is not a thought. Hold on to the I. It is not a thought. You can clearly feel a throb within. You can clearly feel a throb within, a pulsation in your heart. Something arises from within like a wave. And when you touch that wave with the inner observing power of awareness, you will know that it is the center where you live. When you deeply inquire and observe within, the only answer that your heart can provide is me, me, I. Hold on to that me. It is not a thought. You can clearly feel a throb within, a pulsation in your heart. Something arises from within like a wave. And when you touch that wave with the inner observing power of awareness, you will know that it is the center where you live. Thus, holding on to that feeling of I, holding on to that feeling of I. When you touch that I, when your attention sinks in that I, you find that I itself is the road which takes the attention to the heart where the Lord hides. Hrudse Arjuna Tishtati. Bhagavan says, "O Arjuna, I am hiding in the heart. That is my empire. From there I rule." When you follow the mind to its source, you will reach the heart. When you follow the mind to its source, you will reach the heart, where you will find the Lord. That finding is the finding of freedom. Train the mind to stay in that home. So Ramana Maharishi reached that state by inquiring who I am. So every thought, he was not leaving one thought also. Whenever a thought comes, every thought he will question to whom this thought comes. The answer is to me. Then he will question who am I. Then wait for the next thought. That is how he has done his sadhana. About Papa, what he did was he was chanting Ramna. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram. That is what he has taken for his sadhana. So So when he started chanting for a longer period, then a question arose from within, where from this sound is coming? That was the question, inquiry. Where from the sound is coming? Then he started questioning, where from the sound is coming? So with that inquiry, he went deeper within. The question has taken him to the source. Where from this sound is arising? Where is the Udbhavastha? So he was chanting and he was inquiring, where from it is coming, where from it is coming. So that question took him, the sound has taken him to the soundlessness and got merged into that power. That is how Papa has done it. So inquiry, that is also inquiry, method of inquiry. So Ramana Maharishi took the who am I, the question. Papa has taken the question, where from the sound is coming, because he was chanting the Nama, he was hearing the sound. Then suddenly a question came, where from the sound is coming? So through sound, he reached the soundlessness, that state, that is peace, happiness, that heart center. So you will see that thought, the mind has touched the center. You will see that though the mind has touched the center and has tasted the sacred peace in the heart, it will yet wander out as it is addicted to the world. You will see that though the mind has touched the center and has tasted the sacred peace in the heart, it will yet wander out as it is addicted to the world. Like a fool addicted to drugs, it comes out again and again to taste the poisonous worldly matters. Poisonous worldly matters. Like a fool addicted to drugs, it comes out again and again to taste the poisonous worldly matters, which will disturb it again. Hence, train the mind to stay in the heart, to abide in the samadhi, which the Gita calls Brahmi Sthiti. It will gradually become steady. And when it becomes changeless, you will find that the mind is no more deluded. It will gradually become steady. That's why Papa says regularly we should practice again and again and again and again and again. Regularly, with perseverance, enthusiasm, we should intense aspiration, hunger for God. These are all the words used by Papa. We should continue practicing. So gradually then it becomes steady, and when it becomes changeless, you will find that the mind is no more deluded. A person who finds stability in that samadhi state no more gets deluded by the world. All great sages stayed away from the world until they found this steady wisdom within. All great sages stayed away from the world until they found this steady wisdom within. That is why they resorted to the solitude of caves and mountains. We know Papa also, he went from Ramana Maharishi also, he sat in a cave. We see in Buddha's life that after seeking out many teachers, he finally withdrew to the forest of Guruvela, where he struggled much to attain that enlightenment, nirvana, which they call Bodhi in Pali. That is the treasure sought by every seeker. Many are the sadhakas who have got a glimpse of this treasure. But worldly allurement is so powerful that it does not easily allow us to stay undisturbed in that sacred land of peace. In the Gita, Bhagavan says, with a pure intellect, controlling the body and the senses, moving away from all entertainment, free of attachment and aversion, staying in solitude, with wholesome and minimum food to sustain the body, remain immersed in the meditation, fortressed by vairagya, dispassion. Such a mind soon attain the state of Brahma Bhava. Meditate thus, giving up all outer supports. If you hold on to any external support, the mind will go out again and try to depend on it. Hence, Bhagavan says, Sarvadharman Parityajye. Give up all outer supports. Mamekam Sharanam Vraja. Offer your mind only to me, who is in your heart. Then you will be totally free of all suffering. Sarvapapebhya moksha ishyami. You will be free, a jivan mukta, grieve not. Masuchar. The Gita begins with the yoga of grief, Vishada yoga, and ends with the greatest declaration of the Lord, grieve not. Do not be miserable in this world. Such a mind attains great placidity and tranquility. Grief disturbs you no more. Desire and expectation no longer disturb your inner tranquility. Prasanna. Even when you wake up from your meditation and involved in the world, you will not be affected by all the relationships and activities of the world. You find your inner peace remaining undiminished despite your involvement in the world. Only in such a state is one free of danger. It is by abiding in such a state that the illumined sage comes to serve the world. That is how Papa has come. He got stabilized, then he started serving the world. Sri Ramakrishna used to say that a vessel made of brass must be cleansed daily. Brass vessel, no? If you don't clean one day also it will get. So, Sri Ramakrishna used to say that a vessel made of brass must be cleansed daily or else it gets tarnished. But if you have a vessel of gold, this will not happen. A sage in the state of Jivan Mukti is like a golden vessel. No more does involvement in the world tarnish you. This is the supreme goal, the acme of the Gita. Such great sages have walked this blessed land of India many times. Every yuga, every century has been such sages. One of the greatest such phenomena is Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharishi. This is not mere hearsay. The author has lived with the direct disciple of the sage, Nachur Venkatraman. This book is written, he lived with Ramana Maharishi. So he is sharing his experience. And he himself has experienced the fragrance of the sage within him. This is not mere hearsay. The author has lived with the direct disciples of the sage, and he himself has experienced the fragrance of the sage within him. And they have all contributed to this elaborate commentary on the Bhagavad Gita, which is indeed a contemplation on the self. The purpose of this commentary is to constantly remind the seeker that what he seeks is within him. Bhagavad Gita commentary, and we read what is the purpose. The purpose of this commentary is to constantly remind the seeker that what he seeks is within him. The pure Gnana Marga, as revealed by the Upanishads and great sages like Sri Shankaracharya and Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharishi. So some commentators have opined that the Gita speaks about karma, and some others have said that it is talks about yoga. But the Gita Acharya himself says, "Iti te jnanam adhyatmam." Here I have expounded jnanam. So in the Bhagavata too, Vyasa says that which was given by Bhagavan in the war field is pure jnana. Of course, Karma Yoga is given much importance by the Gita. Without that, it is not possible to attain sufficient purity to impute our real nature. That aspect is also given importance in the commentary. The chief intention behind every exposition in this commentary is to turn the mind inward and to make one recognize the most incredible treasure within. Once it is recognized, everything else will happen harmoniously in such a life. This is the greatest spiritual truth. Now, as we enter this commentary of the Gita, it is like a great pilgrimage, a sacred journey. Beautifully written. As we enter this commentary of the Gita, it is like a great pilgrimage, a sacred journey, a tirtha yatra. We go round and round, so we should go to Gita. Reading the commentary, that itself is a tirtha yatra. Tirtha means that which purifies. Tirtha means that which purifies. The more you travel to holy places, the more purified you are. Spiritual purification is not as easy as taking a ritual bath to purify the body. We do not know what impurity hides within. Every step in this worldly life brings up something from within, and they can be cleansed only by the sacred water of the Spirit. Thus, the cleansing goes on, and this is the holy Tirtha Yatra. Reading Bhagavad Gita is a Tirtha Yatra. In a pilgrimage, the devotee takes a dip in many sacred rivers and worships in many temples. Similarly, in this Tirtha Yatra of life, one must worship in many temples of events, individuals, pleasures, and pains. Similarly, in this Tirtha Yatra of life, one must worship in many temples of events. All events are like temples. And individuals, pleasures and pains. The divine appears before you in various forms. And you must learn to worship him in all these temples. Whatever manifestation comes in every form, we should be able to worship him. That is why somebody asked Papa in Anandashram why there is no temple and worship of Lord Rama, because so much of Ram Nam goes on here. Beloved Papa replied, this ashram, whoever comes, they are all Murti of Rama. Rama means the subtle, mysterious power Bhagavan. So whoever is walking in, they are the Murti of Lord. So loving them, serving them is the worship of the ashramites. Whoever is staying in the ashram, that is their worship. Whoever is coming, they are all the forms of Lord. So loving them, serving them is the worship we do here. That was the reply. That is what he says. In all forms and names, we should, like a worship, we should behave. So in a pilgrimage, the devotee takes a dip in many sacred rivers and worships in many temples. Similarly, in this Tirtha Yatra of life, life is a Tirtha Yatra. One must worship in many temples of events, individuals, pleasures, and pains. The divine appears before you in various forms, and you must learn to worship him in all these temples. So, whichever form we see, Lord. So too, you must take a dip in the many, many sacred waters of insights, which will guide you at every step. Thus, cleansing yourself and worshipping the divine, your whole life filled with experiences. You reach the supreme sacred spot of surrender, the real Vaikuntha. Surrender. Papa has taken the path of surrender. Here you surrender entirely, give up your ego and become one with the divine. Give up your ego. Sure. Very difficult, no? Here you surrender entirely. Surrendering entirely means Papa says constant remembrance will lead us to complete surrender. Otherwise it is not possible. Constant remembrance of what? It is He who is seated in everybody, in everything. The Lord who is seated within me as indwelling reality is seated in all names and forms. So, one reality, one truth, one spirit, the subtle mysterious power, one which is there in me is there in everybody and in everything. That remembrance. So whomever I meet, I am meeting my Lord only, who is seated within me, in my heart. Same Lord I am meeting in all names and forms. Constant remembrance is surrender. That remembrance. Then I will not fail. Otherwise, me and my the ego comes. So surrender is not partial. Surrender should be complete. Complete surrender. Here you surrender entirely, give up your ego and become one with the divine. What is ego? Me and mine. Doership, enjoyership. When you reach the spot, you are no more asked to do this or that. You give up everything spontaneously, renounce and surrender. It is just like a river merging with the ocean. It will be running towards the ocean. Once it gets merged, it has no identity. When the river approaches the ocean comes forward to welcome the river. It comes and mixes with the river. In the same way, when the jiva starts to turn within, the Lord comes forward and hugs the jiva. What a beautiful way, no? When we start our journey within, Lord comes forward, then hugs us. When the river approaches the ocean comes forward to welcome the river. It comes and mixes with the river. In the same way, when the jiva starts to turn within, the Lord comes forward and hugs the jiva. We cannot determine whether such a one is a limited individual or the supreme infinite one. There is so much of the impersonal in the illumined sage that we can neither say that he is a person nor that he is not a person. All the characteristics of a person, such as the body and mind, are seen in him. But when we interact with him closely, when we have a feel of his being, we find that he is not a person. He is infinite, like space, all pervading. Space is all pervading. Some blueness of the infinity is found in him. That is Krishna. That is the taste of the divine. Only when you come in contact with such a mighty being will you find the key to open the treasure house of the Vedas and the Upanishads. Then you will find every step, every breath of your life meaningful. Then you discover that land of no name or form, only effulgence, effulgence, and effulgence. So when we start going within, then God, Lord comes forward and hugs us and takes in his arms. What a beautiful idea. So what are the points we learned? So otherwise we forget. We'll just recap it. Any points we remember? Life is a pilgrimage. Tirtha Yatra. Beautiful that is, no? Tirtha Yatra. We never think that way, no? Actually, it is a Tirtha Yatra. All events, individuals, pleasures, pains, whatever we are meeting to do His worship. Whomever we are meeting, that is the form is the temple where God resides in them. So their loving and serving them is our worship to the Lord in all names and forms. It's not one form. Then likes and dislikes won't be there. Ego will vanish. That remembrance, constant remembrance. Suddenly we forget and we connect with personality. We should connect always with the power, not the personality. The power, because the power is there, personality is existing. No, otherwise there is no existence of the personality. Personality can exist only when that God's power is there in the form of life principle. That remembrance. Very good. So life is a Tirtha Yatra, pilgrimage. Beautiful way of putting. Then, any other points? कुछ भी point याद है तो बताना. It is very clear our journey should be within. Outside we cannot find him. No? He is seated within. So mind should be withdrawn from the world and worldly objects. We have to turn our mind within. Repeatedly, because of habit, it will be going out. Again, we have to bring it back. Turn within, again and again. Regularly, we need to practice. Only when we go deeper within ourselves, we will have the glimpse of His presence. Otherwise, it is not possible. Outside, we cannot find Him. And peace and happiness. Where is it? Where can we find? Where can we find the peace and happiness? Our real nature is peace and happiness. So when the mind comes out, it forgets disturbance. When it stays its original state, still, then we experience the peace. Between two disturbances also, he says there is a peace. One disturbance ends before the next one starts. There is a gap, that gap, the peace. Papa says between two chants. When we chant Ramna, then before starting the next one ends Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. Between the two there is a gap. That is our peace. There is a peace. There is no thought there. No? So what we have to pay attention is when we chant Ramna, we should pay the attention to the gap. Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai. Between two chants he is hiding. The peace is there. Chant is a sound. So between two sounds, there is a soundlessness. Pause moment will be there. No? There gap will be there. We can't continuously chant. There is a gap. Actually, our sadhana is to recognize that gap. That that is our true nature.
We never pay attention to that.
Actually, that is what we are. Whenever we chant, that's why Papa says you sit, close your eyes, you chant and you hear your own chanting. Then we will be able to do. So whenever I chant, I should pay attention to the gap. Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. My attention should be to that gap. That's why three types we can do. Rama, when we do the paying attention to the gap, no? Beginning we may be doing little faster only because we got used to, no? Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. But still, I should be able to recognize the small gap. Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. Next step after I'm able to do little, I'm able to recognize that gap. Next step is there should be lot of gap. Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. I'll give little more gap, more time, duration. Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. 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 Third one is this I need to practice longer period. Then I will be able to stay in that gap. Third one only once I just do and abide in that. There is nothing. Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. Suppose a thought comes, again restart from step 1, step 2, step 3. This is how we need to practice. Step 1 for some time, then again step 2, then step 3. Like this, I need to train my mind.
So taking a deep breath and hold as long, like when you're not able to, then again
We should try, we should sit and try. That is what every day, sometime we have to keep for ourselves. This is called meditation, samadhi sthiti. Once third step, you just abide in that. Then no thought will be there, no experience, nothing will be there. That is the state, samadhi state it is called. Samadhi sadhana. With nama chanting. Simple. That's why Papa attained, no, only nama chanting is enough, he says, but we can't understand. We don't understand. First hearing the sound, then gap between one chant and the other chant. One chant ends before next chant starts. There is a gap. So we need to practice and it comes that we should be able to do. Then again, mind, because of the old habit, it will try to go. But the gap increases. Mataji, that is what is happened. No, Papa gave the sadhana to Mataji. Papa said, you watch the thoughts. That was the final. First physical, whatever you do. Second was whatever you talk. In sequence, you should remember. Third, he said, you watch your thoughts. Then she started watching her thought, observing, watching. Withdrawn herself, Then detached herself and started watching the thoughts. She was waiting for the thought to come. Okay, thought has come. Then next, she will be waiting. When she started attentively detached and started watching, slowly thoughts started reducing. Then the gap increased so much that 3 to 4 hours there is no thought. She sat like that. That state is that experience. Nothing will be there. Any experience we have that is not. In samadhi state, nothing will be there. Just be, that's it. That will come like this if we practice Ramnam. We are all votaries of Ramnam. We have to sit and then try. This group chanting no, to help individual sadhana. So individually we have to try. We have to sit and then chant. I should hear my own chanting with the gap. And before doing, we should pray to our Guru. Oh, my Sadgurudev, kindly bless me with the Samadhi state which you have reached. So we pray, then we should start. Because he is seated here only. So we should pray, take his blessings, prostrate mentally at his holy lotus feet. Take his blessings. Then start. Every day, 1 hour or half an hour, we should sit regularly. If we try, definitely Mahatma says it, we will reach. But perseverance, we should not leave. Perseverance. Again and again, again and again, again and again, every day. I should. That's why mornings also we try to do slow Ramnam here, 15 minutes, and 15 minutes just to sit. And mentally we try to chant and try to observe that gap. We are sit here, 6:45 to 7:50, right? But individually we need to try this. It really helps and it is possible because Mahatmas has reached and then they have given. Anyway, 4:30. So tomorrow we start with Dhyana Slokas. So introduction is over today. Tomorrow we will start with the Tirtha Yatra. Reading Bhagavad Gita is this is to purify our mind. With this bhavana we will read Bhagavad Gita. So very happy. Online, anyone has got any doubts, you can write in the chat. If nothing is there, we will close it. We will meet tomorrow. We will continue this tomorrow. I will try. So there is no chatting. All are right. Somebody has written. Surrender all my thoughts to Swami Ramdas. Pranams, Anyway, thank you very much once again. We all will try with Ramnam chanting. First thing is we should pray to the Guru who is not the God who is seated within us to bless us. Then, before starting our chanting, we should feel that it is He who is seated within me is making me to chant. Then we will chant slowly, then try to observe the gap between two chants. So like that we all will try. Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. Satguru Nada.